so excited to have you all here. The AI party has been the culmination of 2 years of effort amongst the team, 2 years of your support, 2 years of grinding, 2 years of generative AI just taking over the world. But we're so excited to have you here. We have an amazing slate of speakers. We have some product announcements. We have all sorts of special goodies. We even have some trivia. Hopefully you guys pick September. That's the song that kicks things off, but Uptown Funk is also a close second. So real quick, before we dive in, I just wanted to give everybody an idea of the team that is behind the GoCharlie company. It starts off at the top with Kostas and Despina. Between them have 20 years of applied AI experience. They're AI wizards. I've seen them make technology do things that I have never seen before. They're complemented by a rock star CTO, Ryan Carlton. He's a 4-time founder. He built the product from the ground up. He's an AWS maestro, and he is largely one of the big reasons that we are where we are today. They're rounded out by myself, who spent time at SoftBank's Vision Funds, Uber's Advanced Technology Group. But most excitingly, we've expanded the team with the addition of Masha Titova, who formerly was at Yeezy and LVMH, and Tim Burton, senior engineer, unfortunately not the creator of A Nightmare Before Christmas. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Kostas. He's got some great announcements, but we're so excited y'all are here, and we cannot wait for what's to come.
All right. Thanks, Brennan. So I have 2 big announcements on behalf of GoCharlie. We have first closed our oversubscribed pre-seed round of $2 million. We have participation from Goodwater Capital, SRI International, Extra-C, Geek, Textbook, and Hawke Ventures, as well as quite a bit of support from AWS, our preferred cloud partner. And additionally, our second big announcement is the release of our new agent product, which is based on what we consider a whole new paradigm for interacting with AI. We call this a cognitive agent, and it's effectively giving AI a brain to reason, plan, and understand and learn, where it can improve over time, and more importantly, when it comes to executing a task, figures out on its own how to use the best tools in order to complete that task. Overall, we believe this has limitless capabilities. And the way it really works is that given a complex task, and we specialize in content creation for marketing and copywriting for the time being, the agent goes out and picks the best models first. These could be LLMs, and we have a specialized LLM that Despina will announce towards the end. We have image models, audio models, and so forth. We have quite a few software tools, which include web browsing and web scraping, web search, SEO research, and so forth. And Charlie will go out and, given his plan, will use the output of one tool or model as the input to the other. There may be some reasoning and logic involved, but overall, we'll get back to you a final result. And this can be a multi-input, multi-output. Where all this goes eventually, over the next few months and even years, is that this technology can really start to begin to not only augment, but maybe even start automating whole business functions, where you start to have agents for HR, accounting, software engineering, project management, and so forth. These will begin to interact with each other. It's considered a multi-agent system, and really begin to start showing huge returns for your business. It's quite an exciting future for the world of agents. And in order to make this happen, I'm excited to start in about a minute our first fireside chat on multimodal AI, which we consider really as the heart of a cognitive agent. And with that, we'll switch over very quickly to some trivia.
Yeah, so we think that every great party should have some sort of game behind it. So for those that answer all 4 trivia questions throughout the course of the presentation, you will be receiving a special gift from Team Charlie. So the first poll should now be visible. If you go over to the right-hand side of your screen, it says polls. So what was the original company name for GoCharlie? So the options are Charlie, like Dolly, Charlie GPT, Gaudium.ai, or Charlie. So we'll give you a second to see what you vote for here. It's kind of great. Maybe we're getting some ideas for future product names, but it sounds like many of you have done your homework. Gaudium.ai was actually the original name of the company. It is Latin for joy. So with that, we're going to bring on our special guest to discuss the multimodal future. So please give a virtual round of applause to our special guests as we bring them on stage.
Awesome. So welcome, everyone. I would love to introduce to the audience Vikranth Jeyakumar, who is an Alliance Manager and AI Researcher at NVIDIA for LLM and Conversational AI. Ryan Lewis, Partner at SR International, overseeing AI investments. And Elisa Evans, Senior Manager of Business Development for Gen AI at AWS, again, also our preferred cloud partner. So to get started, I want to go around the table to everyone and ask you all to begin with the same question as to, given your business and or tech backgrounds, your unique backgrounds, what does multimodal AI mean to you? And more importantly, what gets you most excited about multimodal AI? So Vikranth, let's start with you, go to Ryan and Elisa.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Costas, for the introduction, and thanks for having me here. Yeah, so at NVIDIA, multimodal AI, we look at it in a broader spectrum, like anything which takes in inputs, like input and output, but if they are in two different domains, then we call them as multimodal AI. So say, for example, if it is just text to text, we call them as just unimodal, whereas even if it is a text to image or image to text, like input is one modality, whereas the output is in a different modality, we even group them in a multimodal AI scenario. So, but in general, multimodal AI, we refer to as having multi inputs and outputs have involving multiple domains. It can be audio, video, images, and from my PhD experience, it can also involve sensory data like inertial sensors or I mean, UWB, etc. So there's so much possibilities that can be explored.
Ryan?
Yeah, just to add on to that, you completely agree, and I think the only part that I would add just from our view is that although it's still early days in terms of this technology being developed, and Kostas, you and the team know this better than anybody, right? Where it gets, I think, particularly interesting is if you think about a multimodal system, as Vikranth put it, right into sort of three components, sort of your input, your fusion module, and then an output, right? It is really interesting, and I've just learned a lot just from you all just over the last 6 months on the different knobs one can turn on how to tune that input layer as well as that output layer. And just in seeing how quickly the Charlie product has evolved in a short period of time, that gets me really excited, because particularly if you look at where multimodal is already offering a lot of benefits, is you'll see it both on the performance side in terms of enhancing a model's accuracy and reliability, which, as everyone on this call knows, is absolutely critical for advertising. Then also, right, there's an implicit level of speed, right? So LLMs themselves, right, are maybe great information retrieval tools, but they can't necessarily provoke or instigate action yet. And so by what you all are doing from a multimodal perspective, hopefully speeds up the time, right, for content creators, right, to not only put together sort of an ad, but actually help streamline a whole campaign. And then, as you were putting, a whole series of campaigns. And what gets most exciting, and you kind of intimated this in your opening, Kostas, is, while we're rolling out sort of core features right now in terms of just, image classification or text to image, think about where it could go right in the next 6 months in terms of, as you're saying, customized down to end users or individual campaigns, automation between individual agents. It's really just the beginning, and already you're seeing a lot of impact.
Fully agree there. And then got some exciting things coming at GoCharlie as well to showcase everything you just highlighted. Awesome. And Elisa.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And I think Ryan and Vikranth did a great job at touching on the inputs and outputs that multimodal can provide. So I'll talk about it more thematically. To me, multimodal AI really means holistic understanding. So you're able to expand beyond a text-to-text or speech-to-speech and this unimodal approach, and get more versatile, accurate models that more represent the human experience that we all have. It's kind of like the majority of technology today has been someone who was raised entirely in a library with no windows, surrounded by books and books alone. And what multimodal gives them the opportunity to do is step out onto the street and start talking to people and hearing them and listening to them and touching things and training in that regard. So holistic is the term that comes back to me when I think about multimodal AI.
That's very true. That's very true. It's definitely a very new paradigm how to think about AI. And we also share very much in the belief that it dramatically improves the accuracy of generations by effectively being one model where everything lives in what's called a shared latent space. And actually, Vikranth, I would love a way to explain the concept of a latent space that touches upon Elisa's point that it improves accuracy effectively. You can have a different model for audio and for video and for images and text, and they're all great individually, but then you have so many models that have to run on so many GPUs, and these may be good in their areas, but not good at doing things across these modalities. So do you want to explain a way of how can businesses or startups view this idea of a shared latent space and why it improves accuracy?
Definitely, yeah. So latent space is something which is after the hidden layer. So when you look at a model, it has this input layer, then this internal hidden layers, and then the output layer, right? That is how a usual neural network model looks like. And latent space is something which is formed after the hidden layers and before the output. And this latent space is rich with all the features, which these features can be something that humans can understand, but most of the time it is something which only the machines have learned to create by themselves. So latent space is a different dimensional space, especially high dimensional space, which I think consists of all the important features that can be understood by a model. And using individual models before for each modality, you miss out a lot of information. Like basically, if you're using individual models, there is lots of information lost because they're focused on a particular task. Whereas when you use these multimodal models, where each and every model is combined in the latent space, they create something which I call it as a joint shared representation. So all these models making use of the audio, image, as well as text. They all combine together to form a feature-rich latent space, which then gives extremely high accuracy in the downstream tasks on which it is going to be used on.
So from the perspective that the latent space allows you to then produce richer outputs, given how powerful then a single model can become, I would love to ask you, Ryan and Elisa, perspectives from both a startup in developing this technology and then a perspective from the enterprise in applying this technology. Of course, we'd like to see ourselves as one of the first startups at this stage building these multimodal models, and we're very proud of that. But what can these models begin to unlock for startups? And what do they, of course, unlock for enterprises? And I can make this an open-ended discussion between the two of you.
Yeah, Brian, you want to kick us off?
Sure, I'll jump in, and I think one of the things, obviously, I'm biased, particularly wearing my favorite shirt in my ensemble today. Thank you again. But I think one of the things that is challenging, right, for startups, but I think Kostas, you and the team have handled this particularly well, is when you think about it from an output perspective, it's much more a question of prioritization of what sort of core features you want to provide for your customers early on, and then setting a clear roadmap, because it's very easy, I think, to start thinking about all the different capabilities you'd like to provide, right? And I think just in even some of the early work, right, that we were collaborating on, just thinking about things as basic as image captioning, image generation, your end user's ability to do basic style transfers, and then have sort of basic visual questioning and answering. While in isolation, these sorts of functionalities, right, are not sufficient, right, to spruce a whole ad campaign. They are essentially critical, right, to build all those next level capabilities, right, that you already are. right? And I think, right, highlighting strong performance and reliability across each one of those outputs, right, for either a certain set of campaigns and then iterating over time is critical.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. And I think that as generative AI has increased in popularity over the past year, a question that startups are asking themselves is, how do I remain differentiated? If I just build an API layer on top of something that already exists, how do I ensure that I'm really carving out a product or a product market fit that is truly going to keep myself apart from the crowd? And I see multimodal AI as another means of differentiation. Data sets, proprietary data sets particularly, are a means of differentiation. And multimodal requires that not only you have multiple types of data sets cobbled together, you actually figure out how to align them. And the key to that, being very good at this alignment, so it's not just an image, it's the image and the image caption, as Ryan was saying, and understanding the relationship between those is very powerful. So if you're able to invest the appropriate amount of time and research into creating those semantic relationships and leveraging them to their fullest capability, you suddenly have a path to providing richer experiences for the end users and protecting some of the technology that you're working on.
I very much agree with that. That also provides a moat for us as well in building a multimodal model with SRI, in the sense that it's not enough to just have text data anymore. You have to have images and videos and audio, and then all of a sudden you have so many diverse data sets, and it's very complex to make that kind of diverse data sets that it enables more and more companies to then begin building moats. And it's something that I think all of us saw in the early days of ChatGPT, is like, well, does anyone have a moat anymore? But I think the implications of multimodal AI can now allow companies to start building these moats, because it's a lot harder to build these kind of data sets. From that perspective, I would love to ask, between NVIDIA and AWS, is that how are you seeing the shortage of GPUs affecting the training or the demand for multimodal AI? I know it's still very early in the rise of multimodal AI, but these are definitely very different in how they run than a traditional LLM. Is there any increase in demand? Is there any difficulties in providing GPUs? I know we're having some issues, but both your companies are providing us immense support, and we're extremely grateful for that support.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm happy to hear that. Actually, yes. Sorry, Vikranth, you probably have a very on the nose response about GPUs, so please take it away.
No, I was just going to give it in a different perspective. So yes, there is definitely a huge increased demand for GPUs right now, and everyone wants to get hands on this powerful compute. But at the same time, the shortage of GPUs has given rise to a lot of other ways to explore, like say how to make the maximum out of what you have. So that is something which was not there before, but now people are trying to use the GPUs to the maximum capacity, like using for example, like previously there used to be just one model and everyone just send one request at a time to get the response. But now with there are millions of requests, now they're invented batching. So you batch these requests together, then send them to get the maximum throughput. So all these different techniques keeps developing each and every time to make if I would say the most efficient use of GPUs. And NVIDIA is at the forefront and helping in developing these software stack as well, not only providing the compute, but also providing software stack that helps you accelerate your applications or workflows. So that if all the startups or in the developer community, anyone can make use of the GPUs to accelerate their workflows.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And in that note of kind of resource efficiency, it's also forcing companies, both early stage and enterprise, to consider, do I really need to invest in this at this stage to improve my product? There's this big hype around AI, and the people who understand how the product improvements are going to actually impact the market to the extent that they can then make more money based on the products are the ones who are willing to invest the time and resources into GPUs and are able to carve more of a path for that resource allocation. So it's also hopefully experimentation across all arenas is good. So we want everyone to be able to experiment with these tools, but it forces those who are really hungry for the GPUs to kind of surface to the top, and they're the ones who are ultimately going to have the biggest impact across the board.
Awesome. And then we're running very close to time for the fireside chat. But to conclude, I would love to ask everyone very quickly, is how would you frame this for enterprises? Because for us, this is where we're now beginning our own endeavors to start selling these products to enterprises, and they're still learning and adopting, traditional LLMs. Even those right now are considered state of the art for them, and multimodal models are beyond state of the art. So, how would you, in just a few short sentences, showcase the value propositions of multimodal models to much bigger companies?
Well, I guess I'm happy to jump in on this one, and then we can maybe bounce around. But just a couple of thoughts, right? Particularly, right, as you're preparing to deploy to enterprises, I think one of the things we discussed a little bit here is, at least indirectly, is just the power, right, of bespoke models, all right, and what you have built, Kostas, right, offers a level of not just customization for an enterprise, but sort of a longer term relationship where they can tune, right, specific outputs for individual campaigns very quickly, right, and without necessarily a huge capital commitment up front. And I think one of the things that, right, particularly some of the core features, right, that Charlie offers is being able to start incrementally on a campaign, right, and then show that value and then continue to work out across a wider and wider array of different campaigns. I think, just looking ahead, it'd be great, right, to see, different enterprises begin to test some of the new functionality you'll be adding to Charlie, right? And so, having, as someone who lived through that, I feel old saying this, but the previous wave of AI and tuning CNNs were really cool, and it was a similar adoption trend. And I think what multimodal brings only accelerates that adoption cycle. So working with customers and then sort of incrementally building out, I think it's going to be really exciting next 6 months, 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, I think for enterprises, it's understanding that multimodal AI brings new experiences. And with new experiences comes both better relationships and long-term relationships with your existing user base, but also new customers. I worked on Alexa at Amazon for over 4 years, and voice assistants are very limited in their capabilities today, right? It's a speech relationship only. Imagine if you were able to not only take in the context of someone's voice and respond accordingly, so maybe a quicker response if someone sounds like they're busy and on their way out the door, and a longer response if they sound mildly curious, but also being able to serve to different communities. So if I am someone who communicates primarily through sign language, and I was able to have that interaction with Alexa as opposed to just using my voice, and Alexa was able to spit back not only a vocal response, but the text printed out and a little avatar of the response being signed, all of a sudden you have a completely new target market to work with and a far better experience. So enterprises increasing the adoption cycle, as Ryan said, but also there's so much more that we can do with this kind of technology.
Yeah, as Ryan and Alicia did bring up, I do think the enterprise data for customization is pretty important in this multimodal AI space, given data is what drives the application, drives the use cases. So making use of the data, like getting the data, understanding them, aligning them, as Alicia mentioned, then understanding the use case and then using this multimodal AI or agents to go for this application is what matters the most in enterprises. True.
So thank you everyone for the very diverse backgrounds. Fantastic job. Love the t-shirt, Ryan, representing. And a big thanks for everyone for joining our journey as we grow our startup, launch our products. We have great support from SRI, AWS, and NVIDIA. And a huge shout out to all three other of the organizations. All right, back to you, Brennan.
Thank you, Kostas. So for those of you that are in the crowd, we now have trivia question number 2 up on the stage. So we spent the first part of this this party of sorts with a very technical discussion about AI. And I think you're going to see the rest of the discussion is going to be a little bit more focused on the product that you guys get to put your hands on, what the future of AI is in the marketing realm, and then a little bit about what we're building and where we're going. So for those of you that weren't aware, please go over to polls, go ahead and vote. We'll give you a couple more seconds there. And then we're going to bring our CMO, Masha, on stage for you to be able to see the agent's capabilities in action. So many of you have done your homework here as well. Charlie is a golden retriever. Unfortunately, not a French bulldog. French bulldogs are very cute, but unfortunately, no. So with that, we are going to bring Masha onto the stage.
I'm so excited to be here. I'm Masha Titova, GoCharlie CMO, and this is the part of the party where I get to show you the incredible capabilities of the brand new, beautiful Charlie. Today, I'm going to be talking from the perspective of Sophie. She is a content marketing manager at Glossier, and I have no affiliation to Glossier other than I'm a huge fan, and that's definitely my millennial coming through. Now, Sophie is currently behind on scheduling. She's feeling overwhelmed, she has a never-ending to-do list, and she's feeling like she doesn't have enough time to get everything done. Sophie has decided to use Charlie to streamline her process. To begin prepping the holiday campaign, let's start from the very beginning and use Charlie to help her out. First, she'll begin searching the web for Glossier's most talked about products, and we'll ask Charlie to put them into a bulleted list with a description for each. This part typically only takes a few seconds, and you'll see cute little Charlie down below working hard. And here we go. Wow, this is a great list. Now, without even leaving this page, at the bottom where it says edit, I'm going to switch it over to create. And I'm going to ask Charlie to make holiday tweets referencing products on this page. I'm just going to press edit. It is going to then populate additional tweets. Now, since this is for holiday, I decided I wanted to go crazy with emoji snowflakes. Because, you know, why not? Let's do this one. Let's add another one here. And just go wild with the snowflakes. And it's super easy to do this because this text box is fully editable. And once you are ready with your tweet, you'll be able to then post this straight to Twitter. So if you press down here and press your account, you can edit any last minute things. If you forgot a promo code, if you wanted to add a link, mix up the dates in your head, you can edit it here and you just press publish. Great. And in less than a few minutes, Sophie was able to research her company's top sellers, draft Twitter posts, edit, and post directly to Twitter. And these are only a few features of Charlie she has even explored, and she feels like the rest of her team should also use AI. So she's now going to ask Charlie to pull a summary of the information from top thought leaders and how generative AI is changing the beauty industry and create a memo for her boss. She'll also ask Charlie to generate suggestions of how they should implement generative AI to scale their business. And the way she's going to do that is press this create content. She will type in what she wants from Charlie. And what Charlie is doing right now is he's thinking about what you asked and is choosing the tools to use all on his own. It's why Charlie really is so special. It's impressive that Sophie gave Charlie 3 separate links and he has no issue being able to handle this request. And if you don't feel like waiting the few seconds, you're more than welcome to click away and Charlie will still be working in the background. Now, Charlie decided to give me a couple of bullet-pointed overview. And here you see there is an email format, which is amazing. I think we can all agree. It's kind of amazing how much Charlie has made Sophia's life easier. Thank you for following Sophia's journey, and I will let Brennan bring you back to your next guest speaker. Enjoy the rest of the party.
Awesome. Thank you, Masha, for a walkthrough of that. Over the course of the next couple of weeks, obviously, we were going to be showing you a lot more of the capabilities of the agent. But this next conversation is something I've really been excited for quite some time. We'll get into who the guests are, but I think of them as heavy hitters, and both of them are role models in ways to me on the entrepreneurial side. But first, our third trivia question. So what was Charlie's first multimodal trick? You guys learned all about multimodal, so hopefully you remember what multimodal means. But the poll is now live. What was Charlie's first multimodal trick? YouTube URL to blog, image to ad, image to caption, or website URL to campaign. So go to the right-hand side to click on polls, cast your vote. We'll give you guys a couple seconds on that. But this next session is going to be on the future of AI for marketing and what that space looks like and how AI is going to play a role in it longer term. So it seems like many of you joined us a little bit later in our life cycle, but image to ad was actually our first multimodal capability. So uploading an image and creating image or ad copy based off of that. So with that, I'm going to welcome to the stage two very amazing guests. I'm very excited that we have them here. Let me put that up. So on the stage today, we have Max Bidna. Max has previously sold a marketing agency, and he is now focused on growing a suite of newsletters referred to as the Wall Street Journal of Marketing. Fun fact about Max, he was actually introduced to us through XRC Ventures when we went through their program, and was fundamental in helping us shape some of the product's capabilities. So I'm really excited we get to have him here. And then Erik, I've been admiring you from afar for a long time, not to sound creepy, but everyone I talk to that's met you is just like ecstatic about working with you. You also are just amazing. You run Hawke Media. You somehow run Hawke Ventures. You occasionally hang out with like movie stars all the time. You speak at all these conferences that I'm at. So the fact that we get to have the two of you here for this conversation is pretty amazing. So hopefully I didn't overly flatter too much, but I don't think I could say too many good things. So I'm going to start out with just more of I'm going to start the question with Erik, and then Max, you can kind of get into your perspective as well. But Erik, I think there's several conversations I heard from like 2018, 2019, where you talked about how AI was going to transform the space of marketing. And so I'm just kind of curious, like, do you feel that you were prophetic? Were there things that surprised you about this new wave of AI, or do you think you're pretty on the money?
Yeah, it wasn't me, so I don't deserve any credit for being prophetic. I just read a lot of people and hoped that they were right. Honestly, like what happened was I had a conversation like 9 years ago with some big guys in innovation, and they said they were asking me what I thought was going to replace what we do and was going to disrupt Hawke Media. And eventually it came to AI. And I was like, yeah, I think AI would probably, if assuming like the, future tense of like true artificial intelligence, if that comes, obviously that'll replace a lot of intelligent people doing marketing. So then I started looking into it, and really I read a lot of Ray Kurzweil and his timelines on how AI was going to come to be. And I just kind of said, well, this guy seems to be one of the biggest thought leaders. Let's assume he's right and start building against that, with a hedge, of course. But it turns out his timelines were pretty spot on. Like, he actually predicted that in 2023, AI would start to look like human intelligence. It wouldn't actually be AI until 2029, but that 2023 is when people would go, oh, wow, this is AI. And here we are, and ChatGPT and all this stuff. And now we're talking about it. So and that was 10 years ago that he predicted that. So that's really what set me off on that path. But most of my thoughts came from leveraging his assumptions and then taking that and going, well, how does that affect marketing? How does that apply?
We got to take that guy to the roulette table.
Yeah, right.
Is that on the money? Max, I'm curious, has anything about this new wave of AI sort of surprised you taking you by storm, or is this kind of as expected given you've been playing in marketing land for so long?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me and inviting me to the party. Always good to see you guys. I think the biggest misconception of marketing, or the biggest misconception of AI as it pertains to marketing in today's environment, is that it makes marketing better and it makes great campaigns even better. And so I see a lot of content on Twitter. I see a lot of talks and podcasts and speaking events where people say, wow, like the marketing campaigns that are going to come from, the world's best agencies are going to get even better, or the world's best brands. We're going to see the increase of quality of the best marketing campaigns. I think that has been proven false, but I do think AI in today's climate has helped the median, the average, the middle ground marketing campaign that's not going to win any awards, but still make an impact in a business become better. And so I think that's where a lot of the hype has been called out, or a lot of the hype has been disproven, is all around, whether we're actually making marketing as a whole better, or whether it's just elevating the best of the best campaigns that are going to win Clios and are going to win, all sorts of different awards from the drum and like more traditional marketing.
So that's fascinating, because like taking that question then back to you guys, I guess, is Erik, you run Hawke Media. How have you guys thought about implementing AI in your workflows? Is it a pure like margin arbitrage type thing? Is it the ideation partner? How are you guys thinking about it?
Yeah, it's all of the above. It's really, AI now has so many different use cases and there's so many different angles that it applies to, that it's anywhere from what you just said. It's, sort of time arbitrage, like are there efficiencies? And really, I think that is currently the biggest use for AI. Like I like to equate it to an intern, bring on interns. Like this is not necessarily high level thinking yet, but it can take out a lot of the TDM and the things that you may want an intern to do or a junior employee, you can start to have AI do, and get a lot of sort of that TDM, that like time consuming task that doesn't take high level thought, get that off your plate so you can focus your brain on its highest and best use, so to speak. And, a combination of sort of editing what the AI comes up with along with getting into the weeds on it. So we look at that from an analytics perspective and how can we get quickly to the answer so we can start taking action. We look at that from, an actual asset creation, whether it's copy or creative, et cetera. Can we get there? Can we get there faster? And just every aspect of what we're doing, are there ways to automate it in that sense?
So Max, I think this is an interesting perspective. Erik, thank you for sharing how Hawke's thinking about it. Max, you previously had an agency. You now work with a lot of agencies for lead gen. I'm curious, in those conversations, are people kind of shaking in their boots with this new wave of AI for marketing, or are they viewing it more as like their Excalibur that helps them kind of, win the battle?
Yeah, specifically to the conversations I'm having with agency owners, I would say 9.9 out of 10 are super excited and pumped about increasing their margins. Like that's literally the conversation I have with every single agency owner, is just the ability to make one person who's currently servicing maybe 5 or 10 clients service double the amount of clients. Because to Erik's point, it's like giving an assistant, or in his words, an intern, which I think is a great analogy, to every single person on your team. And so agency owners that are sophisticated, doing any sort of meaningful revenue are really excited. And I know a handful of agencies that are spending tens of thousands of dollars a month on different AI tools, knowing that they'll probably only end up picking 1 or 2 to give to their whole team. But they're just trying to like spray and pray, invest in a bunch of different tools, give their team a bunch of different access to a bunch of different tools, see what their team likes best, and then kind of double down on the 1 or 2 tools that, like I said, help them service, instead of 5 clients per 1 media buyer or 5 clients per 1 strategist, 10 or 20 to increase their margins.
So that's interesting. So all of them are looking at it from an augmentation perspective, which I think is what we're seeing in the market as well. I got to ask, because I know many of our customers use AI tools for SEO. I'm going to ask the question that, Max, I think I may have asked you at one point. What do you guys think is the future of SEO in a AI chat-based search world?
I think it's going to change a lot because right now SEO is really driven by content, by PR, by press and getting out there. It's and again driven by what keywords you have in your site. But we now are going to live in a world where content it's already being flooded, and now it's going to be even worse in that way. So I think it's going to be hard to predict what comes up. Hopefully, it gets smarter about like Google's goal. Speaking, is the biggest search engine has always been for there not to be search engine optimization, that it's just the right answer shows up. And I think with AI and with computers thinking faster, I think the hope is that that becomes more accurate. That being said, the assumption I'd have there is that breaking in through the noise and breaking out is going to be that much harder, because if you can't game that system and try to overtake someone that's already showing up, how would you ever become the new information site to beat Wikipedia? Because now they're just going to own it, and that's it. And so that's something we're looking at is like, if you establish yourself now and kind of lock in, it may be very hard in the future to take that person out, so to speak.
Max, I'm curious, what's your perspective on this, or did Erik cover all the bases?
I think Erik hit the nail on the head on a bunch of things. I think the other thing to kind of put into perspective here is, as marketers, we're constantly chasing what's working and what's not working on every single platform. So if you know that Twitter is where your audience spends a bunch of time on, and you are, as a marketer or as a founder, invested in growing a Twitter audience to hopefully sell your product, you're trying to figure out what hooks, what content length, what words, what topics are going to go the most viral on Twitter today, right? But what works today is not going to work 3 years from now. In the same way with SEO, right? What worked 10 years ago to rank really high for a particular keyword or a particular long tail phrase is not going to work today. And what works today is not going to work in 6 months, let alone 6 years. And so I don't get worried when I think about AI coming and completely changing SEO. What I think about is trying to figure out the signal in the noise. What are the different things that I need to do as a marketer or as an entrepreneur to achieve my desired outcome in SEO and in my Twitter growth and in my Instagram growth? And I think that is going to have the biggest shift, is just what Google looks for to rank you higher, whether it's in a chat form, whether it's in the usurp form like it is now with all the different SERPs, whether it's some version that no one has even conceptualized, even the people at Google, right? Whatever it is, it's not going to matter, because as marketers, it's our job to figure out what they're looking for and then adjust to that, what the algorithm of Google and Twitter and Facebook and podcasts and everything is looking for. So I'm not worried. I'm just trying to figure out what it's going to be for me to maximize that.
So that's an interesting point that you hit on, Max, because when we've talked to creators, oftentimes they're resistant to use AI-based tools because they feel that it might make them sound inauthentic to their audience. But a point that you highlighted, both of you, was that you have to have this internet real estate, this internet footprint to be included in training data sets for future AI models. So you're kind of caught between this rock and a hard place of, if you don't, someone else is going to, and someone else is going to take over your niche. I'm curious, Max, you're kind of more of a creator-led business, if you will allow me that description. Is
Sure.
that something you've had to think through firsthand?
Yeah, I mean, I use AI as a writing partner. That's the best way to describe how I use it. It's not writing the articles that I write. It's not writing the threads themselves, but it's helping me come up with topics. It's helping me find research that I can use to make a point that I'm trying to make. And so I'm not worried about AI not adapting to my tone of voice, because I'm not trying to have AI replace me. And that goes back to my answer to the first question, which is like, the concept that AI is going to replace all of our jobs, or we can no longer hire a chief marketing officer because we can hire AI, or we could, pay for Charlie, has been disproven, right, in the last 6 to 12 months that we have had this crazy wave and rise of AI. So yeah, it doesn't bother me one bit. And so it's just a matter of figuring out kind of the opposite of what I was saying in the last question about, now I need to figure out what inputs I need to put into Charlie and to ChatGPT and to Bard and to all these different services to get the tone of voice that I want. But at the end of the day, I'm not trying to replace Marketing Max's tone of voice on Twitter with AI, or replace Marketing Max with AI. I'm using it as an assistant, or in Erik's word, as an intern.
So last question for you guys. This has been a broad-ranging discussion. Look forward 5 years from now. Marketers that are successful at that point in time, what do you think they were investing in now that led to that success?
I think you know my answer to this because of our personal conversations, but I think it's data ownership. I think it's being able to educate AI in a proprietary way that is at scale, but again, is proprietary so that you're not just competing with everyone else's data sets. I think a lot of AI is going to be a commodity. I think AI is very similar to internet, where in the beginning, everybody had their internet company, and an internet company was really interesting. And now, if I say the word internet company, people are like, all right, stay away from that thing. And I do think that's what's going to happen. I think it's going to be, the way you utilize it's going to matter, but I don't think people are going to be supplying AI to other companies. I think it's going to be, how does that company leverage that to be an individual company? And I think the most important thing with AI is how you educate it. How do you educate it? Data. And so I think at the end of the day, if you don't have some proprietary access to data and you're just using what ChatGPT has or what you can pull out of, off the internet, you're going to end up being commoditized. And I think having something proprietary there that builds up over time and becomes a bigger and bigger walled garden, I think is going to be where people can compete in that space.
I wholeheartedly agree with you, Erik. Max, curious your perspective.
Yeah, I tweeted about this last night, and it's a slightly different take. Totally agree with Erik. Literally nothing wrong or disagree with anything he said, but in a different kind of perspective. I tweeted about last week that I think we all take for granted Google and our understanding of how to properly Google something and get something out of it. I was at the dentist last week, and I've known my dentist for forever, and the receptionist is like a co-founder or part owner in the business, and she was saying, I need help with marketing. I need to find someone that can help book appointments for us and get us new customers. And I said, well, have you ever Googled dentist marketing agency or agency that specializes in dentists? And she's like, no, I don't even know what I would type into Google. And I woke up and was like, wait, what do you mean you don't know what you would type into Google? Type in dentist marketing agency or help me grow my dental practice. She had no idea how to Google stuff, literally just no clue, stuff that we take for granted. Segue that to this conversation. I think the people who win in 5 years are the people that have an amazing understanding of how to write prompts and how to get the AI models, whether it's super specific like Charlie is to marketing, or whether it's super or very broad like ChatGPT or Bard. I think the people who win in 5 years are the people that really take the time to understand the different things that you can type into these platforms to get the most amazing, perfect output that you could possibly ever have or want. And I really wholeheartedly believe that we take our knowledge of Google and how to use Google for granted. The dentist example is not the only one, right? If you guys have ever helped your parents, right, find something on Google, find someone to come over to the house to fix your garage door, whatever it is, just the fact that we know how to structure the right words in Google to get the output we want. The marketers and the founders and the business people that find the most success in 5 years are the ones that know how to write the best prompts to get the outcomes they want.
Guys, this has absolutely delivered on everything I was hoping for. Thank you so much for joining us, Marketing Max, Erik, Huberman. They're legends. You guys should definitely follow them on social media. I've learned a lot from them already in our brief time working together. Thank you so much for joining us again today, guys. We'll jump on to the next part of the presentation now. So real quick, before we have Bidna join us for the last section of the presentation, you will now have trivia question number 4. So how many times has GoCharlie won Product Hunt? Is it 1, 2, 3, never? Hopefully many of you know the answer to this. If you are uncertain of how to get the polls, you just click on polls. It will ultimately bring up the answer options on the right-hand side of your screen. So it looks like a couple of you have been able to vote so far. So the answer is 2, but it's a trick question because I'm hoping it's 3 when we relaunch on Product Hunt next week. So be on the lookout for that launch. Support us if you can. We hope we can count on your vote. But with that, I'm going to hand it off to Bidna, our chief AI scientist. You guys are going to love her way more than me. Bidna, welcome to the stage. I'm so excited for what you're about to talk with us about. Take it away.
Oh, we may have some technical difficulties here. That's not a quick mic check. All right.
Costas, I brought you in.
Awesome. Okay. I will then deliver the next big announcement from Despina. Sorry, Despina. I'll take all the glory. But Despina and I are partners in crime, and together we have trained our one of the first domain-specific LLMs for marketing and copywriting. It is a 3 billion parameter model. We trained it on 1.5 trillion tokens. This model is designed to incorporate brand voice, product descriptions, as well as intent and target audience in creating content. It is 100 times cheaper to run and adapt to brands than the massive 100 billion parameter models that exist out there. In our beta tests, in blind user tests, actually, it was chosen 80% of the time over ChatGPT outputs for creating content such as Facebook posts, ads, so forth. And we are planning to have the model available as both a private API as well as on AWS's Marketplace and Jumpstart programs sometime this fall. And we're very excited for everyone to try out the model once it becomes available. And with that, I would love to conclude with our roadmap. Everything we've touched upon today through the fireside chats, through my announcements earlier in the presentation are just the tip of the iceberg. The rest of this year, we are not only launching the agent, we're launching the API, we're launching mobile app and a Chrome extension to the agent. We will be heavily extending agent's capabilities, adding more tools, more models, as well as adding the ability to make it proactive, where you can run in the background. You give it a complex task, it'll run in the background and then it'll ping you once it finishes its task. We will also be launching our multimodal model that we are co-developing with SRI International. And again, this is just what we're doing this year. Next year, we're planning for even bigger stuff. So stay tuned for that. But I would love to conclude with our new model that we are making life easier with AI. And with that, I would love to thank all the speakers, as well as all the audience members who joined us. Huge thank you to everyone for joining us. And we hope you're going to follow us in all of our future endeavors. Thank you. Brennan, take it away. Close us out.
All right, everyone. That concludes. Oh, lagging on my video screen. That concludes our presentation today. As we mentioned, this is a culmination of 2 years of hard work, 2 years of blood, sweat, and tears figuring out what to build, who wants what we should put in the roadmap. I think we have a very exciting future ahead of us. We have some amazing partners in Hawke Media, NVIDIA, SRI International, AWS, Marketing Max. I think we have all the ingredients for a breakout next 12 months. So be on the lookout for new product updates. Be on the lookout for the Charlie's and Coffee tomorrow for another walkthrough. If you haven't already, join our Facebook community. But most importantly, go Charlie and go on and have a great day. Talk to you guys soon. Thanks.
To everyone.